before jumping into the session, I would like to pass it over to Teresa to introduce Ally and the session.
Yes, thank you, Runjhun. Hi, everybody. I'm Teresa Weaver with Ally and excited to be here with you. Really, the stars of the day, I'm going to turn this over. We'll want to tell you a little bit about who Ally is, and then we'll get into the actual session with our guest speaker, Anita Sarkar. But let's turn this over now to Alexa Moore from, before we do that, really quickly, yes, thank you, Anita, for going through. This is our quick agenda. Who is Ally? And then you'll get to meet our presenter, and then she will go into her key topic, Applied AI in the Enterprise, a team sport. So let's go to the next slide. All right, Alexa Moore, you are up, our HR manager. She's going to tell you a little bit about who Ally is.
Thank you, Teresa. Happy to be here today. And Anita, you can go to the next slide and we'll get started talking about who is Ally. So we are over 11,000 teammates focused on our customer. The one thing we do here is obsess about our customers, and we've succeeded at this by being the original digital disruptor. We've transformed the way people bank, and now we're on a journey of transforming the digital financial services. The one unique thing about Ally is that we have a startup feel backed by 100 years of history. So we first opened our doors as GMAC in 1919 as a division of GM to help dealers finance and maintain their inventory. Fast forward to 2009, we transformed GMAC Bank into Ally Bank based on 3 simple principles: do it right, talk straight, and be obviously better. So we're now on a journey to make Ally a one-stop shop for our customers for all their financial needs. And if you want to move us to the next slide, here you can see kind of all of our offerings. So with the recent addition of credit card, we now offer services to our customers for all aspects of their life. We continue to build award-winning experiences and products that bring our customers innovative approaches to online banking, lending, home loans, auto financing, and wealth management. With this, we hope to walk through every stage of life with our customers. So now that you have a kind of a brief foundation of who Ally is, I'm going to hand it back to Runjhun to give an introduction to our guest speaker today.
Thank you so much, Alexa. So Anita Sarkar is our guest of honor. She's a speaker for today's session. She's a director of conversational AI and ML engineering at Ally. In her role, she leads a team of application developers, ML engineers, and program managers. She has an experience of more than 20 years in software development, program, and product management. She started her career as a research engineer developing software for telecom protocols, and she led multiple customer experiences technology initiatives, including voice recognition and customer interaction analytics at various companies. So over to Anita, just a small point to note for our audience. She will be addressing all the questions at the end, and there is a dedicated question answer session at for 10 minutes at the end. So feel free to put your questions in the chat box for her. Stage is all yours, Anita.
Thank you very much, Runjhun. Appreciate this. It's a pleasure to be here with the Women Who Code community. And I do want to start off thanking this group, Runjhun, Gracia. It is a huge task to pull together a community like this and promote this kind of learning sessions, interaction sessions. So kudos to you for taking the time out to do this for the community. And also thanks everyone who has taken the time out of the lunch hour or dinner time in India. I know it's pretty late there, and joining us on this virtual session. So it's my privilege to be here with all of you. And I do want to start off by saying, today's session, I'm not going to be talking very deep into any data models or pure data science topics, because I believe many of you on this call know way better than me on that topic. So I'm going to share a little bit of the lens as I see how a new technology matures in an industry, how it works in an enterprise. And then I'll share a little bit of my personal journey, because each one of us, we navigate our careers with our individual journeys, our individual lenses. And I'm happy to share a little bit about how I have navigated mine, in case it is, you find anything that resonates there with you. Cool. So before I start talking more about this topic, I just wanted, for the whole group, wanted to talk about a few very foundational elements when we say the words conversational AI. What are the key terms here, as you'll hear me use them through the next few slides. So in this very financial services context, when a customer wants to talk to us, say, suppose he wants to ask, what is my account balance? That whole sentence, we call it as an utterance. And there is the button between where all the magic happens, and we can understand what is the intent of the customer. Okay, the intent of the customer is to find out their balance. And what kind of balance? What are the different entities here? Maybe their savings account. And then again, we get to work and find the correct response and give it back to the customer. So the key elements, the utterance, the intent, the entity, and the natural language processing that happens to get all this information together. Now, often people will talk in terms of a bot, but it's important to remember, it's not like one single thing happening there. What we call a bot in simplistic terms, it's really a combination of multiple models in play, multiple logic in play. So first off, taking that natural language and making tokens out of it, in a simple way, maybe parse each word. That's the simplest of tokenizers, parse each word out of the sentence. Convert that into a featureizer, the numerical representation, and from there on perform all the entity and intent extractions. So just very, very simplistic terms, but I wanted to cover this before I start talking further here. Now, whenever we talk about emerging technologies, I find it very interesting to see how that has evolved in the whole entire ecosystem. Nothing happens in isolation. We also say, like customer behavior, it is shaped at an industry level. It is not at an individual company level. It is the experience we have across the board that shapes our expectations. So let's look at, when we say conversational AI, what is that evolution path for the entire ecosystem? So natural language processing, the concept and the early tenets of it, they have been here for a while. It's not like a brand new thing. Suddenly we're talking about natural language processing. Way back in, the 1940s, the first concepts of machine translation were developed. And there's been a continuum on this where different models have come through all the way to 2010, where we started with deep learning methods. Now, in the recent times, there has been a sudden acceleration. So what is that acceleration? Why do we see suddenly more talk about conversational assistants, voice assistants, digital assistants? And that is in the data science community. Most of you are, I'm sure, very familiar with this, the concept of transformers. So train once and then customize or use multiple times. So just within a very short span, I would say like 5 years or so, we started seeing the transformer models in the natural language processing context. So what this did, when we talk about large models, the computing power that is required, that itself blocks many players. Only people or companies with large data centers and that kind of dollar investment could use these models. But once the transformer models have come into play, the landscape started to shift a lot. There's another thing that I'll mention here, and then we'll keep going. The other thing that happened is even the processors, with NVIDIA, with Intel coming up with all the GPUs, the very, very fast processors. And then all of big tech jumping in, say the Google and Amazon and Microsoft, all of them going to a platform approach, finding what are those blockers that need to be removed to enable more and more companies, more and more enterprises to benefit from these emerging technology, this entire space of natural language processing. And you'll hear this, the democratized AI, it is indeed a buzzword these days, but I personally feel a lot of passion behind that buzz, that there has been a lot has gone into the ecosystem to get things to where they are today. I will also make one call out here. We will come back and refer to some of the things we talked here before we end this. But I also want to call out as I go through this entire talk, I'll be talking about, career opportunities. So when we talk about the field of AI, we have to keep that perspective that there are many, many things required to make this possible. So as we look for career opportunities, there are many different areas to look at. If you're passionate more about hardware and processors, there's a lot going on there. If you are more passionate about building that entire platform ecosystem, still a lot going on there. If you are more passionate about the core models, of course, there's a lot going on there too. So just to keep that kind of lens, career opportunity lenses on. So why do we care about this at Ally? Alexa mentioned, right? We have this, we obsess over the customer. This is right out of our commitment page for the company. We want to do right by the customers. We want to obsess over them, continuously innovate. What are the latest technologies and how can we use that to make a difference, a positive difference for our customers? And always through all of it, be very purpose-driven. We have to be intentional. How can we help the communities? How can we help our customers? How can we help our employees get the job done better? To me, this is best illustrated by the words of one of our summer interns, Fiza. So Ally has a very rich internship program, and we had our interns over the summer. It is always a great experience, talking to students and hearing their perspective. And at the end, when Fiza was making her presentation, I asked, Fiza, what's the one thing maybe top that sticks out in your mind? It's different from what you do in school versus what we are doing here. And her quote was, in the school, I only worry about whether my program works. Here, every time I have to think, who is going to use this program and how are they going to interact with that? So I feel that is a very powerful internship experience because the customer lens is what drives us to do what we do. With that said, I'm going to go on and talk a little bit more about, what it takes to build the conversational AI solution. So there are multiple pillars here. I'll start off with the customer experience and the technology pillars. So first of all, building the solution, where does that start? Thinking about the customer experience. How may I help you? That is at the center. We talked about that, right? Then the dialogue design. So looking at everything that the way the customers have been interacting with us so far. How do we expect that entire dialogue to go through? We have a very powerful team of UX designers who analyze, what is that customer journey, what those dialogue designs need to be to have the most optimum experience. And then attention to the customer sentiment. So there is that very thin balance. Again, we are obsessing over our customers, doing what's right for them. So where does it make sense to offer them self-serve opportunities versus, take them directly to an associate who can assist them, sentiment analysis. If someone is very worried about, lost or stolen card, there are ways to handle that digitally. But if we sense the person is very aggravated, we can take them directly to an associate. And a huge part of all this, to make all this possible in the conversational AI solution, is to make sure to gather everything that we have historical from the customers and label and understand what are these different topics customers are talking about. So overall, this entire customer experience, this is where the product teams and the user experience teams play a very key role in defining what needs to be done and why. And then this pillar about the technology. And that is where my role comes in. Everyone from data scientists, ML engineers, application developers, all of us here, for us, the story starts with, okay, how can we help the customer? So what are these requirements? What kind of solution do we design? Then selecting and training the models. What are the right models to use? It's a continuous process again, right? How do we train it most effectively to understand the customer best and serve? Then the platforms and tools. As an engineering team, the platforms and tools are very, very critical to what we do. because we are always looking for that speed, the reusability, and the dev-friendly. How can we do the right programming time after time? It's not a one-time thing. It has to be reusable, and it has to be fast. Then all the enterprise integrations, because you heard Alex saying it's a digital bank. So we have a very, very rich digital landscape already. Lots of APIs out there that help us retrieve the customer information. Lots of systems of record where the customer information is available. So integrating with those other enterprise solutions is a key part. Now, once you have built and put a solution out there in production, then comes the run part. Job is not done. All the more so, as an engineering team, anyone who has worked in the space, there's this continuous work, right? You have to monitor how the systems are doing in production, make sure they're up and running all the time. With something like an AI solution, there is an added lens on top of it. That is to look, after we've put something in production, how is the customer interacting with it? There are always aha moments, right? We expect something and the customer may be interacting completely differently with the system. So those are things we have to continuously watch for, understand what the customer feedback is, understand through direct as well as indirect. Now, sometimes they'll leave us survey comments, and sometimes it is more to see where they are continuing to interact with the system, or are they dropping out? So all those signals. And on the solution, on the technology side, we monitor the model performances. What kind of retraining we need to do? What kind of tweaking the hyperparameters do we need to do? Now, I'll make one other call out. I keep saying the customers as they, actually it is us. I think that is one of the luxuries, working in the banking or financial services. I myself am also a customer, all right? So it's a win-win there. The solutions we put out benefit us. We can also provide initial feedback. So just want to call out, it's really not them, it is us, customers as us again. Now, anyone who has worked in the software development space for some time, many of the things listed in the technology stack, even the customer experience stack, it spans multiple areas. We have very similar requirements analysis and solution design and integration requirements. Couple of things that are very, very unique to this space that I'm going to call out is this bucket here. How do we design the dialogues? How do we train NLP models? Because this is a case of handling the uncertainty. I've worked in software development for decades now, more than 2 decades now. But the unique thing here is there is a degree of uncertainty when the machine is predicting something. It always comes with confidence levels. That is where the dialogue design is a very, very fine art about, if we think the machine is not comfortable in making a prediction, how do we handle that ambiguity? And again, that same thing comes back in big strokes here at the run phase, getting that constant feedback so we know we are training the models appropriately. Now, the third big pillar here is the risk and compliance. We have all heard stories about, runaway models, biased models, and we also know our value of doing things right for the customer. So our risk and compliance partners, they are involved with us all through this. It is not only after something has gone into production. Before things have gone into production, have we tested these appropriately? Is there any risk that our model is biased, that we are not providing the right information to the customer, or we are not being fair in the information we are providing, or how we are treating our customers? So risk and compliance is a very, very vital pillar and a very strong partner for us all through. So with these different pillars, what does the team look like? This is where I say it's a team sport. We have product managers, we have UX designers, analysts, architects, engineers, risk managers, program managers. It truly is a team sport. And what becomes very interesting in a space like this, we are still building the skill sets across the industry, across the enterprise. And I will share, last year, I was very building the team very fast and furious. And there is a way to look at how do we build the team? How do we bring together all the different skills needed so we are holistic as a team? Again, I'll put that career lens here. If anyone is interested in this space, there are all these different roles. If you want to, if you see your passion is in one particular area, there is need in every area. Now, I started with the industry lens. I'm going to come back to this industry lens here. This is something I personally like a bit. So this is the Gartner hype cycle. This is a very, interesting graph that any time for a new technology, if you see that first part of the graph over here, there is a very sharp rise. There's a lot of excitement in a technology, a lot of hype, people get on board. And as people start working with it, they start finding all the challenges. We start finding the challenges, and then this is the trough of disillusionment. So when we have hit this trough, that is where we now know what are all the watch items, what we need to be careful about, what we need to design around. And from there, we can start the journey to a sustainable, steady state. And I'll stay on the slide for a bit so you can see, I hope it is not too much of an eye chart here. There are different legends here, what takes maturity for 2 to 5, what takes maturity 5 to 10 years, things like that. This is 2019 for the conversational for the AI space. And this is the 2021 chart. The 22 is not out yet. I believe it should be here next month in a few days. So let's see what this tells us about chatbots. So in 2019, we were at the peak of the hype. So we saw earlier, right, that the transformer models, they started showing up somewhere in the 2017 timeframe. So the moment it got more accessible, things were more accessible, everybody jumped into it, be it startups, be it enterprises, everybody jumped into this. So by 2019, everybody was at that height of excitement. And then we started seeing what could go wrong, what are the challenges. And by 2021, we are at this bottom of excitement, the trough of disillusionment. Sounds fancy, right? But the good news here is, if you look at industry adoption from a customer point of view, it is not that the adoption has gone down. In fact, because of the COVID times, the adoption has actually gone up even more. More and more use cases have come up. But the only thing is people are more cautious. They're more aware of what needs to go into this. And if you see that the bubble now, it is showing it's a white bubble, which means we are expected to hit that sustainable steady state plateau within a 2-year time frame. Now it's to be seen how far accurate this crystal ball is. But definitely, as a maturing technology, we are getting there. Now, to substantiate that, let me show a few other things here. So if you look, data labeling and annotation services. 2019, when the chatbot hype was at its peak, this service, which is very, very critical to make the bots efficient and effective, this was still, just beginning its climb. Now, this is also more towards its maturity. Same thing about the cloud services. Starting the climb here, getting more towards the stable state here. And this is where I was talking on the previous slide, the whole ecosystem effect of the big tech jumping in and all with the goal to make these services more accessible to people, to build better customer experiences without the blockers that there may be. Let me see. Okay. With this, I am now going to change gears completely and go more to the individual lens. So we looked at a little bit of the ecosystem, the industry lens. Then we talked about, what it is taking at the enterprise level. And I do want to share my story here. What does it take from an individual lens? A little bit about my journey here. So many of us have heard about, it's not a ladder. it's a jungle gym. So Runjhun shared, what where I started. So I started way back out of college. I started in the telecom space. That was when 1-800 numbers were still not as common as today. Today we don't think twice about using 1-800 numbers, or even having a call like this. This uses the voice over IP, which was a new thing at one point. There was a time when we would worry about so this voice packet, if it is lost, do we just drop the packet? Do we send it out of sequence? Those were real questions at one time. And personally, I find it very, very satisfying, to see where these technologies are and, how commonplace these have become today. So, when I apply that same lens to the conversational AI space, I feel very optimistic and very excited that one day we'll just be talking to our machines all the time. Maybe not all the time, but yeah. So started there. From there I moved to Intel, and let me just go through this, and I'll talk about a few other things. While at Intel, I moved into the project management, program management functionality, those functional roles. After Intel, I worked at Yahoo, and this is where I started working on contact center solutions. One of the key things, so this was a running joke that I included here. Please listen carefully as our menu options have changed. We had seen that so many times in the industry that it had become a joke, that customers don't even listen to that when you say. And what you work with once, your ears are tuned to that forever. So even now, if I hear this anywhere, the memories come flooding back. One thing that was very interesting while I was working in those technologies, that is when Genesys had introduced their first voice recognition systems, and their project manager was talking about how, in their excitement to use a voice recognition system, they took out the option of press 0 for associate, and they wanted their customers to just use that voice recognition system, and that did not go well. So the lesson from that, and something that I have remembered always, is we as technologists, we tend to get excited by a new technology. But what we have to always think about front and center is the customer experience. We have to make something so much easier that customers naturally follow that path, not for us to force them into something. From Yahoo, I started, I moved, this was a big leap for me personally in my career, moving from high tech to financial services. Started that with Bank of America. This is where I first started working on product management, and honestly, learning more about that end-to-end journey from where we understand the customer experience all the way to getting it implemented to deliver the business value. And the next step was moving into this space of NLP and conversational AI. Now, this is the what. Some of you may easily wonder, what was she thinking? Why is she making all these jumps? So there is another dimension to you that I do want to share, the why and the how of this curve. So this is my 6-month-old daughter in my Intel office. And so what happened, I used to work at a satellite office, Intel satellite office in LA. This was right after the .com bubble burst. And Intel ended up closing the satellite offices and moving employees. So at that age and time, I didn't even think that was an option. I had a little baby. I could not even think of relocation. My husband was working there. So I started looking for remote jobs. And I found a program manager job, a project manager job. And I will tell one thing that worked well for me. I really was so tuned to the remote nature of the job. I did not think too much that I did not understand everything in that job description. So just by chance, I was bold by chance. And happened that I really enjoyed that program management role. It gave me lots of opportunities, helped me balance work and life for the early years of my child. And this next jump, again, which looks like a big leap, at least it felt for me, was when we moved from Los Angeles to Charlotte. So again, I followed my husband, he followed his job, I followed my husband. And this was when Yahoo decided, they did not want to support the remote work anymore. Marissa Mayer, for business reasons, she stopped the remote work policy. And I was here in Charlotte, big financial services area. I moved to Bank of America. The next step, I wanted to just share this. This was me going back to school. And my son had started his kindergarten. My daughter started high school that very same year. So I do want to give kudos to my husband. Would not have been possible without his support. And I think he's somewhat of a hero to have supported three students in different stages while managing his work. And I'll say, I believe it was Indra Nooyi who said that one of the best career decisions, one of the most important career decisions is the people around you. A lot of support is needed as we navigate our career here. And to bring this full circle, this is my daughter, the 6-month-old here. This one, she started her mid-school last week. So why do I share all this? Let me say, everything that happened, it's a combination of chance and choice. I would not have made this leap here if it was not for Intel shutting down the office. But there are many things at the moment, they sound very overwhelming, not what we had in our plans. We don't have a control over them, but how the path shapes beyond is through the choices we make. And then it became a cycle, my choice would then influence the next sequence of chances, right? Continuous learning. This in today's age and time is non-negotiable. I think as I was building the team, I was saying, emerging space, looking at skill sets of people. This was the one thing I was looking for as a hiring manager. I was looking for the signal about, is this person passionate about learning? There are so many opportunities. There are self-learning opportunities. There are courses. Ally has a program, we have a tuition reimbursement program for people who want to pursue their master's or PhD. I have people on my teams pursuing PhDs right now. And I encourage, not only I encourage, I feel thrilled about that. I feel privileged to be working with people who are so driven by this continuous learning. And calculated risk taking. So sometimes the risks I took was ignorant, but after 2 big leaps, now I have discovered that I actually thrive when there is ambiguity. I actually thrive when there is a lot of steep learning involved. So I've actually discovered that in myself, and I don't mind taking those calculated risks. But the other side of this is, as a manager, as a hiring manager, I also I'm willing to take the risk on people. I am looking, as I said, I'm looking for people who are eager to learn, taking this forward. And I think that is what I want to give back, is create those environments where people can take risks and pursue more opportunities. So for me, it's not so much as a jungle gym, it's a scenic drive. Yes, it's a scenic drive with lots of road bumps, lots of detours. It's not a smooth ride along the freeway, but a very satisfying, fulfilling scenic drive here. So that brings me to the end of my slides here. And we are ready for Q&A. I did leave more than 10 minutes, almost double the time. I hope I didn't talk too fast. I hope people were able to follow along.
Yeah, so we are getting so many great feedbacks for you, for your journey. And it's such an inspiring story. So thank you so much for sharing that, Anita. It's really overwhelming to hear it and feeling very inspired by you. So we do have 3 questions for you. So let's get started with the first question. Ruth is asking, what NLP method is the most common in the industry?
Ruth, I would say the big change, the big transformational change, that's the same word, that is when the transformers came into play, right? The transformer models. Now, again, it is not a single model that is required for your solution. So the right answer, which I say it a little bit with the cringe, it will depend on your use case. So depending on the use case, you would select what method you really want. In case of conversational AI, as I was saying, it is not one model, it is a combination of different models that are needed. I would encourage, if you're interested in this space, definitely to read up on the BERT models and the recent, the GPT-J, that is the open source GPT-based models that are now out there. So I would encourage, if you're interested, definitely to take a look at those.
Thank you, Anita. So I hope you get your answer. If you have any other follow-up question, please feel free to ask them in the chat. We have another question for you, Anita. What are the best practices for speeding up the utterance labeling without compromising label quantity?
And that is a great question. I wish I had an answer to that. There are lots of ways that you can optimize. There are things you can do programmatically to pre-label. There are solutions already out there, but that is a big emerging aspect. As you saw, that whole in the Gartner hype cycle, that data annotation and services, that is a very emerging space, you know, through the hype, now getting to the more settled state. That is, I would expect more and more solutions out there. We can do things programmatically right now to reduce the effort, but there's more to be done.
So we have another question. I think it's regarding a slide. So what kind of platform and tools we are using for ML and NLP here? So I think it goes back to second or third slide. If you can go back and explain it to them again.
Sure, my slides have so much of animation built into it, but I will say there are a lot of slides, a lot of tools you can choose from. So, and it is coupled with, you know, enterprises, most of the enterprises are on a cloud journey, and each enterprise has their own cloud choices to make, whether, you know, you're an AWS shop or an Azure shop or in a mix. So based on, again, the individual enterprise where you are, we are seeing lots of tool sets that help you automate your DevOps. And this is where everything goes hand in hand. Again, you know, as an engineering team, when we're looking to speed the cycles of development, the CI/CD and DevOps practices come into play. So how do you integrate that with your ML and NLP tools to make things faster? So I would say, if you're starting, if you have access to any of the cloud platforms, look at their toolkit. And all of these companies have that on their pages. Now, once that is a starting point, I will say internally, we have also developed a lot of custom tools, but that is very specific to what is the need. We talked about annotation earlier. That is an area where custom tooling helps a lot. And then also, you know, as you go ahead in the maturity cycle, how do you maintain, we talked about risk and compliance, right? How do you maintain versioning of the different models? So those are things. There are solutions in the standard platforms. There are sometimes custom solutions needed based on your use cases.
Great answer, Anita. So we have another question from Vedahi. Which model works best for analysis of SMS data?
So the way I would take that is, we get the data from different sources, right? So at the end, you know, even if it is whether it's coming from survey or from a chat or from SMS, you know, ultimately it is from the it is a text. So you can apply the NLP technologies over there, have the same analysis. What would be different is, you know, this is where the dialogue design and all becomes more specific. The nuances start there. Is based on the channel you are. Your responses may have to be tuned. So SMS, there's limitations on how many characters you can send in the text. So you would customize your responses accordingly.
So another question from Riddhi. What are the models to study for sentiment analysis?
There are custom models in here. I'm trying to think if there's a specific one I would recommend. There's not a specific one that comes to mind right now. We do use a toolkit which has sentiment analysis within it. I'm spacing out on any specific names right now. And, you know, I forgot to mention that if anybody is interested, I'm happy to connect over LinkedIn. I just wanted to quickly mention that. And we can definitely follow up. Happy to follow up on any questions there. I did want to mention on the topic of LinkedIn, I'm sorry if I may go back one more time. During the entire journey that I shared, a lot of the opportunities that I had were because through people I know, and those connections are very, very important. So first of all, kudos to everyone who's joining. You're already taking that first step in building that community, building your connections. They go a long way towards the opportunities that come your way. And I would say, you know, like our CTO, Satish, he's a great person to follow on LinkedIn. I'm sure all of you have your choice influencers. And there's another person, Dory Clark. I was very fortunate to take one of her courses at school, and she talks a lot about the career navigation and building your brand. So Dory Clark and Satish, I meant to mention that earlier, and I'll take this opportunity to just quickly mention that.
Thank you so much. And I think it would be very helpful to connect with all of these people over LinkedIn and even with you. So we have another question from Bissy. For a new entrant into ML and AI, what would you advise as steps to becoming knowledgeable and grow from a newbie to an expert? Also, is the internship opportunity still open? So I think that's for the company.
For the internship opportunity, Alexa, do you want to take that?
Yep, I certainly can. So internship opportunities, you can work with our campus recruiting team, and you'll find information actually on our careers site, which I think Teresa might have put into the chat box. We also utilize Handshake, which I hear is a very popular platform on campuses, but we offer a summer internship that goes from mid-May to mid-August, where it results in a capstone project that they present to leaders. So we actually start the recruitment period for that next month. So again, check out our career site and Handshake for more information.
Thank you, Alexa.
Awesome.
You're welcome.
And I'm sorry, Runjhun, what was the other part of the question?
So they're asking for some advice as steps to become knowledgeable and grow if they're a newbie and they just want to become an expert in ML and AI.
So the good news is there are lots and lots of resources, starting from YouTube videos. I found some of them very, very helpful to get started. Two, there are Coursera courses, lots of online courses. And then if you're looking for something more formal, there are all the certificates from colleges that are there. There are also, you know, like meetup groups. I know here in the Charlotte area, there are meetup groups around data science. People get together, even work on small projects. There's nothing better than getting hands dirty with code. So I would encourage, you know, so I think this is the first step, that if you are interested in a topic, build your network around that. You know, you have people who are passionate about it, and you all learn and grow together.
So we have another question from Anna. Do you have any tips for building lasting relationships via LinkedIn, since you mentioned LinkedIn in your previous answers?
I'm sorry, Runjhun, I didn't catch that. Experience with building?
Do you have any tips for building lasting relationships via LinkedIn?
Lasting relationships? Yes, I have followed. So if you are connecting with someone on LinkedIn, okay, let's keep this real. So it's not that every connection will go far. Okay, but there are passive and active ways, you know. So what I have found useful sometimes, even connecting someone and following what they do has been helpful. But if you're connecting with someone, make sure to follow up and really follow their work. You know, what is it they have done? What are your areas of interest? Request some time with them. And the other way to look at is, I also share this, you know. So when I went back to Duke for my MBA, my career coach there gave me a very, very, very powerful advice, you know. That sentence is what has stuck with me. You know, Anita, there may be the perfect job for you, and you may be the perfect person for that job, but if people don't know you exist, you're not going to get that job. So it is not about seeking. So she forced me actually to network, and it was extremely uncomfortable. I felt like I'm asking people for a job that is not me. Felt very uncomfortable. But from there, what has happened is I found people with the same passion, same interests, and we have developed very, very genuine connections. And even my ally job was a roundabout way of that, result of that. So what I would encourage, follow people's work. If you're connecting with someone on LinkedIn, try to have conversations with them, not just that one LinkedIn connection, and approach it with the lens of, it's not that you're asking for a job, it is with the lens of you're building a long-term relationship. You will be surprised, even if, immediately there is not a response. It's a fast-moving world, right? It's fast-moving space. You may interact with those people somewhere, and having that connection does help at that time.
That was really very well put up, Anita. And so we have a question from Zavi. Are there some gaps in the state-of-art approaches in making conversational AI and what being applied in the products? Are there any limitations to apply researches to the product?
Yes, so some things that I talked about, and I'm sorry, I might be losing my voice here. So some of the things, that data annotation we talked about, doing that at scale. Excuse me.
Anita's just taking a sip of tea or water. Her voice is a little scratchy. She's got something coming over her. But in the meantime, check out in the chat. I'll put all three links. There is, please join our Ally Talent community. Also our careers, learn more about the Ally experience, explore jobs, and also check out our Ally Tech blog, where we have features on different subjects, tech subjects, every month. So there she is, she's back. Thank
you, Teresa. And yeah, I thought I almost made it without the tea, but no, that tea was helpful. So thank you. Oh, that's it. Yeah, so thank you. And Teresa, those are powerful resources. I do want to amplify that, Runjhun, please do share with the community. There's a lot of good information put out there. And to go back to the question about what are the limitations, that's a great question. When we are in the academic space, there are more things that can be done than when we are in the enterprise. I had one, I was volunteering for an event with high school students, and one of the students asked, why does it cost so much for you all to, actually I was bragging about how big technology budgets we have. And then the student was telling me, high school student was, why does it take so much, why does it cost you all so much? And my reflective answer on that was, because we have to make absolutely sure that when we are putting a solution out there, it is working right. And, if we are giving you information on your rates, we don't want you to be giving the wrong information and making, you make an incorrect decision by that. So there is definitely a cycle, taking something from a research stage to making it available in an enterprise for our customers. And the factors that go into that is those things. Can we do it at scale? Can we do it repeatedly at scale? Is it safe, and can we be very sure that it is not going to, malfunction? And that is, I'll keep going back to that Gartner hype cycle. That is where you will see in things like those AI ops, explainability, things like that, which are still in maturity levels. Historically, financial services are very conservative. We would not embrace a new technology unless we know it is the right thing for the customers.
Thank you so much, Anita. Another question we have for you is, how would you recommend approaching sentiment analysis for an unsupervised task where we don't have labeled data to train on, but pre-trained models such as transformers or pipelines may not be performing on the standard needed?
And that's a great question. So some of these, I honestly do not have direct answers for. These all take a lot of the experimentation. So if you're using unsupervised, you could still see through some cluster analysis, where are those big clusters you're seeing, right? And what kind of response may make sense. There will still be some initial man in the middle evaluation before you can get it to a level of solution. I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer to that. Sentiment analysis is definitely one of the tricky ones. We do want to make sure we are honoring the customer sentiment. But again, that is an area where we would lean towards being more conservative than aggressive.
Thank you so much, Anita. We have a question regarding the internship opportunities. Are there any internship opportunities for bootcamp grads? I think Alexa, you could take that.
Yes, so our internships are open for campus or technical boot camps. We actually work with quite a few technical boot camps in the Charlotte area and expanding into the Detroit area, where we onboard as well as early talent. So again, just kind of be on the lookout for those internship opportunities as they'll be available. We really value a diverse background of skill sets, whether that's campus or the technical boot camp. So there is a spot for everyone here at Ally. Great question.
Thank you so much, Alexa. All right, so I think that's up with the questions. And thank you so much, Anita, Alexa, Teresa, for answering these questions with such an, going in deep detail with every answer. Thank you so much for sharing your inspiring journey, Anita. It was really a great session, and we can see in the feedbacks as well in the chat that everybody enjoyed and learned a lot from you. And I would like to thank the whole LI team, and we would love to have another collaborating event very soon with you guys. Thank you, Alexa. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Anita, again. And thank you so much for the audience for sticking up till the end and asking such an amazing questions. We had a great time. If you guys want to have any last statements, closing statement from you.
Thank you so much for enabling this community. As I said, these go a long way. I really appreciate that, and it's my privilege to come and chat here. I learn each time when we have these sessions. It is a learning lesson for me too. I'm going to go and dig more into the sentiment analysis. I can promise that much to the audience who was asking the question. But again, thank you Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, I would just like to say thanks to Women Who Code as well. Anita, you did an awesome job. Thank you so much, Alexa, Runjhun. Please follow us as well out on Ally's LinkedIn page. You can see all kinds of wonderful posts and what we're up to, technically speaking, as well as overall for the company. So thank you.
And I echo everything. Just a big thank you and an honor to be here to speak with you all today.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Grace and Zareen, as well, for helping us with the event and organizing everything with such an ease. And that's it from us. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of the week, and it was really nice meeting you all. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.